This video is intended for entertainment and historical purposes only. It's not meant to be an instructional tutorial or provide professional advice. Up to this point, everything we've done so far could be considered very routine. Lifting the locomotive up, removing the boiler, removing the frame. All aspects of a normal maintenance cycle. Today, however, we're going to do something that was very uncommon, even back in the old days. Pattern makers assembled huge wooden patterns for the foundrymen to use in the casting process. Every part of the locomotive made of cast iron started as a wooden pattern. When the new castings were cool, the sand cores used to create cavities inside them was chipped away. These brand new cylinders were then sent to the machine shop, where they were planed, bored, and shaped into usable locomotive components. When the erecting shop was ready, the newly machined cylinders were taken out of storage and attached and aligned to brand new frame rails using large fitted bolts and custom machined wedges. Under normal conditions, the cylinders would never again be separated from the frame. But that's exactly what we're going to do today. This isn't a task that should be done alone. So we loaded the locomotive frame onto the trailer and headed over to a friend's place to have a little work party. For today's operation, I need access underneath the cylinder saddle. So heavy-duty sawhorses were set up at a convenient location close to compressed air and cutting torches. Using the forklift, we carefully placed the frame on top of the sawhorses and went to work. The first order of business was to remove the crosshead slippers and guide bars. The right side came apart in a matter of moments, but the left side, with its mine-related damage, was another story. Because the pistons are seized in place, we weren't able to turn the crossheads and piston rods away from the guide bars. Instead, the guides were loosened off at the rear cylinder head and pulled away from the crosshead to a point they could be lifted up and off the cylinder head stud. This is where the issue came in. On the left side, the stud is bent in such a way that it doesn't want to fully unscrew from the head, nor can the bar lift off of it. Careful not to damage the rear cylinder head casting, we used a combination of a wood pry bar and a couple wrenches to straighten and tighten the stud back into place. The stud material is really soft, so it's much more inclined to bend than break. Now that the guide bars are off, it's time to move on to the cylinder casting. But before we get started, let's quickly go over the parts involved and what we're going to be doing. Unlike a larger locomotive, the cylinder assembly literally sits on top of the frame rails. It's referred to as an assembly because it's made up of two identical castings, or halves, that are bolted together at a flange on the front and back. Looking at the frame from the side view, you can see the pocket where the cylinder assembly sits. The rear of the pocket is machined at a 90-degree angle and is mated to a machined pad on the back of the cylinder assembly. The cylinder assembly is secured to the frame rails with 4 fitted studs, 2 on each side. These studs have an interference fit with their holes and are tightened together with nuts on top and bottom. The frame pocket in front of the cylinder assembly has machined tapers, both vertical and horizontal. This is where the frame wedge or cylinder key goes. The wedges can only be inserted or removed in one direction due to these double tapers. The purpose of the wedges is to keep the cylinder assembly aligned and tight against the rear of the frame pocket. Now that we have that out of the way, here's what it actually looks like. Step 1. I'm going to use the air impact gun and remove the bottom nuts off the fitted stud. The first three come off nice and easy, but the fourth refuses to move. So, it's time to use the torch and persuade it with a little bit of heat. Something I'm noticing about this engine is just how strange the nut and bolt material is. The thing was built in 1912, which I would think is a little late for using wrought iron, but the material has a lot of wrought iron characteristics. Even with this light flame, the nut wants to burn much quicker than it would if it was mild steel, and everything just seems so soft. I don't know if this has something to do with being in the salt air and the corrosion that occurred, or if it actually is wrought iron. After a little heat, the nut came off exactly how it should. But while we're under here, we've got a great view of the exhaust passage in the middle, and the dynamite damage we talked about in episode 3. Now it's time for step 2, dealing with those frame wedges. This shot of engine number 2 gives you a good idea of just how hard they are to access. Beating them out is a bit of a challenge due to the space constraints. The flange that holds the cylinder halves together is directly in line with them, so you can't hit them straight on. Fortunately, we found that a piece of 2-inch angle iron, a couple feet long, is the perfect tool for this job. And after a couple minutes perfecting our technique, the left side wedge came right out. Over the course of a locomotive's life, these wedges can sometimes loosen up a bit, and should be hammer tested on a regular basis. There are more than a few locomotives out there that have globs of weld holding the wedges in place. This just indicates that someone wasn't doing what they should have been. Leave me a comment if you'd like me to go over the process of hammer testing components on a locomotive. Now that the wedges are out, we can clearly see the vertical and horizontal tapers on the frame. Additionally, you can see the machined pad on the front of the saddle. The lack of heavy corrosion on the pad indicates just how well the wedges were fit in place 112 years ago. As you can see here, there isn't enough room to pound the studs up. They're just going to run into the bottom side of the cylinders before they clear the frame. So the only way to avoid cutting the studs is to lift the cylinder assembly off the frame with the studs in place. Being an interference fit, the studs are tight through their holes. So we thought we'd use the weight of the frame itself and a bit of hammering to separate the frame from the cylinders. Needless to say, this didn't work. So we had no other choice than to roll the frame over on the ground. This operation looks a bit rough, sped up, but I can assure you nothing was damaged in the process and we were quite careful throughout. The fella you see getting ready to hit the studs is my friend who will be doing all the machine work on the engines. But don't worry, he'll be filming everything as he does it in the machine shop.
Yeah, it is.
So get a young guy here. Get the young guy up and smack it hard. Don't be. If you hit it lightly, you just.
Pounding out the studs ranged from very easy on the left side to very, very hard on the right side. It's like two different apprentices in the factory were tasked with making these studs.
Really serious from the first blow. Oh yeah, it's solid. Yeah.
The studs were all hammered down flush with the frame rails, and then a cutting torch was used to nip the underside off. The remainder of the studs were then hammered out. The only thing left to do now was gently lift the frame rails off the cylinder assembly with the forklift. With the frame and cylinders separated, it looked more like we were running a scrapyard than trying to restore a steam locomotive.
So, these are the locomotives who've reached the end of the line. They've been overtaken by progress, these old chaps, sent by the car and the aeroplane, as well as the diesel, to this early graveyard.
But regardless of appearances, it was a very productive day and a major step forward in the restoration process.
Run feet clear. Watch your toes there. That's captain, and that's how you scrap them out.
The last thing to do was load the cylinder assembly into my friend's truck for the ride to his machine shop. We'll join him in the shop next episode as we start the actual restoration process. Thanks for watching right to the end of the video. If you're enjoying this project, here are a couple other episodes from the series. And don't forget to subscribe, leave me a comment, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on future episodes.